Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of an experiment called Life with Alex Mackenzie. That's me. As always, this episode is brought to you by Punchline Nutrition. Go and check out Neuro Boost. It's like a multivitamin for your brain. I take it before I podcast, before I write, before I do comedy. Now, we don't guarantee it will make you smarter, but we do guarantee it will make you less dumb. So go to punchlinenutrition.com, use coupon code ATJ. You'll save yourself a bit of money. And we are currently in the full swing of the Hunger for Laughs comedy tour. We're halfway through now. We've got, what, 4 or 5 more dates coming up. So all over Western Canada. So if you like laughing and you like giving back to your community, because partial proceeds go to charity, go to hungerforlaughs.com. And again, use coupon code ATJ and you'll save some money. Now, today's guest, I am very excited to chat with this lovely lady. She is a yogi, she is a meditator, and an author. Everyone, please welcome Amy Dickens. Amy, thanks for coming on.
Happy to be here. I'm not gonna lie, like you did your whole intro and I was like, yo, this guy's got a like good vibe. Like I feel like when I'm hosting my podcast, I'm like, welcome to Joyfully You. I'm like, no, you get that, you get it, you're bringing the vibes. So I'm excited for this conversation today.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be so fun. That's my whole shtick. Like even in comedy, I think the biggest thing I learned is like what I'm saying on stage has very little to do with it. It's like, how am I making you feel?
Yes!
I'm just selling you on a feeling. You're like, hey, come and see me, and you're gonna feel better than before you got here. I promise.
Right? Ah, that's the thing. It's like who you are and how you're being in the world. It's like that's the whole freaking thing. And it took me like my whole 20s. I'm like, what's my gift? What can I share with the world? It's like, oh, it's literally just how I'm showing up. Cool.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, I think that's what your 20s are for, though, right? Like, I think
Right.
your 20s are to try and figure out who you are and who you want to be and, what you want to put in the world. And yeah,
Oh,
um, I was going to start because you're a big promoter of joy.
oh, yeah.
Now, I wanted to ask you, I guess just right off the top, so what is joy? How would you define joy?
Wow. Okay, that's great. No one ever asked me how to find joy. How would you define joy? I would say that there's probably many ways to define joy because I think that there's many flavors of joy. There's like peaceful joy and like enthusiastic joy and like contented joy and everything in between. But I'd say that joy is that feeling of upliftment, of that really, I think it helps us feel connected and truly connected to that like spark of our being, that like, whoa, yeah,
Right.
this is who I am. This is the real me. And I think that there's, lots of different ways that that looks. And for me, it probably looks vastly different than for like somebody else, and vice
Right.
versa.
What is there a difference between happiness and joy?
Wow, I think that all of these things, it's really a good question because I think that the way that we like culturally define things, I think, it's like how does each person define it? That's probably depends on each person, I think that to me, joy is like a state of being that can coexist with other things. I can remember a few years ago, I was like going through this incredibly intense heartbreak, like the kind
Right.
where you're like, ah, the love of my life and everything's crumbling to pieces around me. The grief is intense, but also experiencing like in that same moment immense joy, like so
Right.
much love, so much joy, and so much pain and grief and all of the things where I think like happiness maybe is a little like it's a moment or like it's a
Yeah.
fleeting kind of
That
thing.
that's I think the best definition that I would say between joy and happiness. I
Yeah,
read a book a while ago. This is years ago, 10 years ago, called The Power of Joy.
yeah,
And yeah, I think how I would define the difference between exactly what you're saying, happiness and joy. Joy, I think, is like a peaceful, long-lasting feeling, almost yeah, almost just like contentment is
yeah,
where happiness is like you're saying, like a fleeting moment to moment thing is kind of what happiness, I would say the difference is. And then with
yeah.
the heartbreak, that's interesting. I always say I think breakups are the most painful thing I've ever gone through,
Yeah,
right?
they're no joke. They're no joke.
And it's so funny because I guess it gave me a very good insight into, when you go through a breakup, like if a friend goes through a breakup,
Yeah,
you're just kind of like, ah, get over it, like you'll be fine, not like rudely get over it,
right.
but you're just like tell them it's okay, you're gonna be okay. But when it happens to you, you're like, oh no, like this just consumes your whole life, your day, everything.
Yeah, it's wild. It's like it feels kind of like a fever dream a little bit thinking back to like when you're in like the throes of like fresh breakup and you're like everything hurts and I can't stop crying and it feels
I
like
know
I'm
you
like
wake,
shattered inside.
oh, so you wake up the next day and just orange juice doesn't taste as good. Like
Yeah,
nothing is as good as it was
right.
before. And then
It's
so how did you start finding joy? In your 20s, did some reading. That sounds like you had some health issues.
Yeah, a little backstory. People constantly are asking me, or like assuming, I think, Amy, you must have just been born like this. You must have just born out of the womb. You popped out and you were this smiling, bubbly person. And yeah, I think there is, some of that under the surface. You look at like pictures of me throughout my childhood, and I'm definitely like the goofball in all the pictures that's like making wild faces and just being obscene and strange, but also was incredibly shy, very anxious little kid, just like oh, all the little things, which maybe is what led me to lean into like the funny, being the funny one, being like, I'm just gonna try and regulate my nervous system. I don't know, I'm 8 years old.
Yeah, I don't even know what my nervous system is yet.
I don't even know what that is. Is that a word?
Yeah.
And then eventually I got to college and that, anxiety got real amped up. Then depression said, "Hello, I'm here." Then like kind of like smacks me down real hard, and then it all snowballs to that so much so that I had like horrible social anxiety, really intense chronic fatigue, and just like all of these mystery health issues that were just smacking me in the face, and just kind of that level of pain and suffering where you're like, I'm 20 years old. I have to figure a way because I literally cannot live the rest of my life like this. And there's something inside of me that says it gets so much better. I have no idea how, but it gets so much better. And then that's where, I just start reading all of the books and I'm like meditation and yoga and breath work and I don't know, being really serious about psychology and, all of the things and getting like my morning routine and beep, bop, bop, boop, boop, boop. I'm going to be the best little student I can be. And I got a lot better. I
Yeah.
noticed that like there was a like I'm like, oh, I'm getting better, and then I plateaued at a certain point where I was like, oh, like I'm noticing I'm putting in more effort, I'm like doing more of these things that should be helping me. And for like a couple years there, my mid 20s, I was like, I feel like I'm like really I'm like nothing's really getting me that much better feeling. Like I'm not really feeling like I'm reaching my purpose and my potential of like that I can feel that's inside of me. And somewhere along the lines, I was like, I think COVID hit. I think that's what happened. And then I was like, you know what? F it. Let's quit our jobs and sell everything and move into a van because I've always wanted to do that and just like
Is that what you did?
And that's what I did. And I just like remember making an intense vow when we did that because we spent like the whole summer, building out a van, the blood, the sweat, the tears. And being like, I've never picked up a saw before. I don't know why I thought I could build out a van. That was ridiculous, but I did do it. Um,
That's
And eventually
awesome.
I like finished that and I'm like, okay, I vow to follow my joy and like those gut feelings of this is like something that's really exciting me. Because before that, I was so good at being a people pleaser, at following the shoulds, at kind of like reading people's minds, it felt like, of what I thought people wanted of me and just doing that before they even said the thing and being like, yes, I'm the good little girl. I'm the best little worker bee. Like, you're gonna pat me on the back. You're gonna give me, like the gold star or whatever, the thing is. And
Right.
realized that was just making me miserable. It was making me sick. And I was just not happy. So I started to just say, okay, what is this like? Like, how can I just, I don't know, try doing stuff that I enjoy? And it's not for the faint of heart. It made me like face a lot of intense fears because at this moment I still had like horrible social anxiety, like could barely make a friend or talk to anyone other than my ex-partner. So I'm like, all right, we're just gonna become a whole new person. And through facing those fears and following the excitement, following my joy, I like opened up a whole new world for myself and allowed myself to, I think, really regulate my nervous system through following like my joy and my play, noticing the more I'm laughing, the more I'm just in this mode of I'm excited to wake up in the morning because I'm like letting myself follow the excitement. I'm not following someone else's script for what I think I should be doing with my days. I get to create my life and noticing. And this is like a roller coaster. I'm still on this all the time of relearning that
Yeah, well, I think
constantly.
I don't think that ever ends. You
Right.
and I actually have a very similar story. I did the same thing. So
Hell
I
yeah.
quit my job, I sold my house and everything I owned. I bought a van and for me and my dog to start doing comedy and just started touring the country doing comedy. And
Yeah.
yeah, you mentioned there about the fears. I think that is generally like your growth is on the other side of the fear. The thing that
Yes.
you're avoiding is usually the path forward. And
Right.
so you have to go through that to then get the growth. And without it, like you can try read all the books, you can try and do all the things, but until you step out onto the field and start actually like, getting in the game, you don't really know how to prepare for it.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I'm like, when you find that thing that is equal parts, I'm so excited about this, and it kind of shivers me timbers, like full steam ahead. Go do that thing.
Yeah, it's interesting you're talking about how like stop doing what everyone else wants and start doing what you want. I
Yeah,
do find a lot of the time like we tell ourselves stories of like you were saying, oh, I was doing things before people would even ask. I was just like, oh, this is what they'll want me to do.
right.
Because we create these stories in our head and then believe them to be true, and then we start acting them out. And that was a big thing for me. I remember I really was unhappy because in my old life, it just felt like you could see every day of your life for the rest of your life, you know?
Yeah,
So you're like,
right.
oh, this is it. Just Groundhog Day every day. I come in and do this. Exactly.
Yeah,
But then it's like once you realize that like you don't have to do these stories aren't true. Like I'm like, no one said you had to work in a mill. No one said you had to have a house with a mortgage. No one said you had to do these things. I'm like, you're making a choice to do them because you think that's what, not like people want from you or society wants from you or what people tell you the right thing to do is. Then you realize there's no rules. You're like, you can do whatever you want. And then once
right.
I learned that, it was so freeing. And I found it's funny you're talking about like the roller coaster of having to learn. I remember, so I quit my job. I was like, okay, I'm a professional comedian now. I'm doing this full time. And then I remember just waking up in the morning, and you're like, what do I do? Like
Yeah,
that's the best part because you have to learn first of all how to work. Like I had to learn how like what to do, and then you really get to learn what you like. Like when you completely clear your schedule like that, where you have nothing, and you're like every day you wake up, you're like you can do whatever you want, and now you kind of sit there and you're like, I always found it was like I love to play Grand Theft Auto, the video game. And you can do anything in that game. You can go and you steal cars, fly jets, go play tennis, rob a liquor store, do whatever you want. But the game almost gets boring because you're like, oh, what do I want to do? Like you can do anything. And that's what I felt life was like when I first quit. I was like, what do I like? Like I can do whatever I want today. What do I like to do? And then
yeah,
over time I started learning, well, I like writing. So you're like, okay, let's try writing every day. And then I like going to the gym. So then I got like a gym routine. And then you slowly start figuring, and I really like cooking. And so it's like, okay, let's start doing that. And then over time, it gives you because when you're like locked into like a corporate 9 to 5 job, you don't really have time to figure out what you really like. You're just like on the treadmill running
yeah,
and you're like, go, go, go. Is where when you get that silence and that alone time, then you get to be like, okay, what do I actually enjoy to do? And that
yeah,
it can be very scary because at first especially with depression, you feel like you're like, I don't know if I like anything,
yeah.
You're like, oh, maybe I just don't. Um, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's such a fascinating experience and a fascinating roller coaster that I still constantly catch myself in certain moments and seasons. It's like, oh, I'm the joy lady and I connect people to their joy and I'm doing, and then I still catch myself doing things that I think I should be doing in certain moments of just like, oh, I do this and then I do that. And then I like, okay, I need to break this habit. And I'll do weird things like I'll just stand on my dining room table because I'm like, I have free will. Like I can literally do whatever I want.
Yeah.
Like this, like the other day I was at my friend's house and I was remembering this. I'm like, wow, I've been kind of going through the motions a little bit. Let me eat this bowl of soup without a spoon and just like kind of, just like dunk my face into. I'm like,
Like those
okay, what is
videos on
like
the
I could
internet.
do anything. Like we could literally literally wake up every day and make any choice that we want to like make the life
Well, that
whatever the life is that we want to make, basically. And obviously there's some like restrictions and confinements of that,
I
it's like
always say as long I kind of did a piece on it in my first special. I talked about like as long as your joy doesn't come from someone else's suffering, like who cares, you know? So it's like you just do whatever you want to do, and then yeah, you figure it out from there.
oh yeah, I love that. Yeah, no, I used to what did I used to call it? The humor awakening as well. Because I'm like, I like jokes, I like making fun. And I'm from Chicago, and the way that we would make fun a lot of times growing up is making fun like of other people. Like I'm laughing at you and I'm not being
Yeah.
very nice at you.
Yeah, that I think that's pretty standard generally. Like
Yeah,
when some people have never seen comedy before, they come to the show and they think it's just like roasting people.
yeah,
So they think they just yell and heckle and they're like, oh, they think the comedy show is just you making fun of them.
right.
And but I because I think that's like a standard like kids thing. Um I was gonna say you mentioned about like choice, where you realize choice, and that was a big realization for me is that like everything in life is a choice. Like before, I used to believe that it wasn't like when I got diagnosed with depression, I always say it was like the worst thing because someone comes along and tells you you're depressed and that your brain doesn't produce enough neurotransmitters for you to be happy. And
Yeah,
which is really interesting in general. If you look that up, so I started looking that up, like they can't even measure your neurotransmitters. Like it's kind of like a fallacy that your brain doesn't produce enough, because it's made off of an inference of your neurotransmitters based on SSRIs. So like you
yeah.
have like I read a really good book called In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts by Gabor Mate. And he
Hmm.
talks about drug addiction. He's talking about cocaine with dopamine. And there's like your presynaptic cleft and your postsynaptic cleft. And then what happens is like you do something you like eat an ice cream, dopamine flows out, goes across, binds to your receptors. And then what it does, then it like releases and then goes and gets reuptake because you're not supposed to eat an ice cream and cone and feel good forever. So it gives you a little shot and then leaves. And so what cocaine actually does is it blocks reuptake. So then dopamine comes out and it just floods these receptors and it just keeps it there. And it goes bing, ba, bing, ba, bing. But what happens over time then is your receptors go, holy cow, we're getting overloaded. So you usually have four, they start to die off. So then you only have two. And then when it wears off and you get reuptake, now next time you go and like I loved hockey. So say I go and play hockey and I score a goal. Now I only have two receptors. And so
Hmm.
then I score a goal and I go, it just doesn't feel as good as it used to. Then you go, maybe I don't like hockey like I used to, you know? And then you start feeling that. And that's where SSRIs are the same thing. It's selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. So they
Hmm.
block the reuptake of serotonin. So your brain gets flooded with it and you feel better. And because of that is how they infer, okay, if you take an SSRI and now you feel better, that means you have low serotonin, but it's really like a fallacy. There's no way to measure it. And I found that a very dangerous diagnosis because when I got that, I then just thought, well, I'm a depressed guy
Yeah,
and I got a bad brain, a bad deal. I'm just going to be sad forever. But
yeah.
then once I started doing things that I liked, like comedy and going to the gym and eating healthy and getting good sleeps, I'm like, wow, my life is completely changed and I feel so much better. And that all came through, like you were saying, reading a lot of books. Like it was just read every self-help book I could get my hands on and start trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I
Do
think
you?
that you really hit the nail there on the head with I think that these terms like I'm depressed and like anxiety and all these things, they're tools, but when we use them as an identity, it's hard to get out of that. It's like I
Yeah.
am like a depressed person. Or when I had all these health issues, I remember my ex-partner like laughing at me at one moment because and I was like all upset in the moment, but I'm like, no, he was like totally right. I had signed up for a hiking group that was like women with like autoimmune conditions because I had so many health things. I'm like, oh, they'll get like all these health things that I'm going through. He's like, do you really want to identify as that? Like, you're not even that. Like, you're not even
Right.
that level of. I'm like, shit, like you're right. Like the way that we identify has like the most power, like so
Yeah.
much power over
Well,
how we're living and showing up every day and experiencing our lives. And we have so much more ability to make choices of, oh, whoa, like when I am moving, like how I'm moving my body, am I doing things that are like I enjoy? And there's all of these ways to help with depression outside of, oh, I'm a depressed person and I need to like take a pill and all these things. And like no shade if like that's the route you want to go,
right.
but for me, that really did not help whatsoever very much.
Yeah. Well, I think it's like the thing of they always use that broken leg analogy, right? Where they say if you had a broken leg, you'd take a crutch. And that's what they talk about with depression. They're like, oh, if you're depressed, take the pills and it's like a crutch till you get better. But I
Yeah.
find it's like a lot of people, they never get off of it, right? It's like you've been taking antidepressants for 10 years. When did you think they were going to start working? You know?
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, with the identification thing, I think there's a couple things there. So I think number one, when we're young, we're looking for an identity because we don't know who we are yet. So we're trying to find an identity. And then a big one through meditation. I don't know. Have you heard of that acronym RAIN? They use an
Mm,
acronym called RAIN, and it's like recognize, acknowledge, identify, or investigate non-identification. And so, like, that was another really big shift that helped me through meditation, which I'd love to talk more about meditation with you.
yeah.
Is so first is like recognize. So you're like, okay, I'm feeling something. You're like, I'm off. I don't know what it is. So then you move on, you recognize that, then you go acknowledge and you go, okay, I'm feeling anxious. So you're like, I'm having anxiety. So now you investigate. You go, okay, why am I feeling anxiety? You're like, oh, I've got a big comedy show coming up, or I've got a bunch of work due, or I've got bills that I have to pay that I don't have the funds for. Like, or I got a tough conversation coming up with a partner. And you figure out what is causing the anxiety. Then the biggest one, the big shift is the N for like non-identify. And then you go, because I would have been like, I'm an anxious person. That's how I used to look at it. But then
Yeah.
you go, I'm a person who's feeling anxious. So
Yeah.
you don't identify with the feeling. The feeling does not define you. It's just you're a human feeling this emotion. That
Yes.
emotion isn't who you are.
Completely. You're just having an experience in a certain moment rather than being that, I am this. I am anxiety.
Yes, exactly. Like in what's the movie? Oh,
Oh, Inside Out? Is that what you're
Inside
talking
Out, right?
about?
That's it. Yeah, yeah, Inside Out. Yeah, where all the emotions are in there and they're the
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of meditation did you like doing or did you get into?
I've done so many different kinds of meditations over the years. Yeah, I was very in the like yoga world of meditations. I lived at a
Yeah.
Buddhist retreat center for a long time, just doing all of those, like loving kindness and all those different
Yeah,
kinds of
like a
med.
meta meditation.
Yeah, and I've gotten a little more woo in the just different kinds of worlds of it. But yeah, meditation has been huge, and for me I had that moment of recognizing, oh, where does what kind of anxiety am I experiencing, and I find meditation so helpful when I'm in that like amped up level of like, whoa, I'm super overactivated. But often for me the kind of anxiety I go into is where you like go past like and you go into that freeze kind of mode, and for
Right.
that I have found that all of the meditation in the world actually more just feels like a comfort zone for me and wasn't really helping me. And that's where I found like play and joy and getting my body moving in a like way that was kind of breaking the habit of being myself of this like my body is just feels unsafe and is just stuck. Like it just felt like it was trapped like in this pattern of like I'm not safe. And through doing something that's fun, gets my body moving, dancing, laughing, playing with someone else, or just in this jovial state, my nervous system I realized was like healing. Like I would meditate for like freaking hours and just being
R-
like, why isn't this working? Like, what is going on? And it helps so much when I'm like, whoa, I'm like really jacked up when I'm not
Right.
jacked up and I'm just like seem kind of fine on the outside, but like inside, I'm like, oh, I'm kind of glazed over and anxious and procrastinating and foggy
Yeah.
brain. Like,
Well,
whoo, getting
meditation
back.
does seem like a way to because you're just constantly like, oh, recognizing a thought and then letting it go and then
Yeah.
focusing back on like a Vipassana meditation back on your breath. And then another thought comes. But then sometimes it's like, well, maybe this thought is worth thinking about. You
Yeah.
know, you're like, oh, maybe I do need to not just push everything away, and I do have to sit in this for a bit rather than just push it all away.
Yeah, completely. And it's that the I think a lot of our growth journey is that discernment muscle of like, okay, learn the tools, and then you get this whole cool toolbox, and you're like, all right, when is it time to use my hammer? And
Yeah,
when is it time to use my wrench? When is
right,
it time? Because it's like, oh, if you're like super jacked and you're like, whoa, like I feel like I'm running a million miles an hour, and I'm like, ah, okay, yeah, slow down. So you
right.
breathe. Like you need to kind of do the opposite of that probably to or maybe move it out a little bit too. But when
Right.
you're like stuck in frozen, like how do you unfreeze an ice cube? It's not by like sitting there in the fridge for a long time. You gotta move that habit in a different way that's in alignment with it is that you're trying to be is kind of the way that I see it. And our biochemistry changes based off of our physiology. So if you're moving there's a habit of your biochemistry when you're moving your body physiologically when you're depressed or
Yeah,
anxious. Like your shoulders are slumped, your breath is shallow, it's in your chest, your neck's probably down, like there's
yeah,
there's all these things. But when you're feeling good, you're feeling confident, you're feeling connected with your friends, your shoulders go back, you're probably chilled out, or maybe you're big, or your movements are different. And doing that, like kind of reverse engineering that, allows your brain to find it easier to go, oh, okay, now I can focus on something different. Now I can make a new meaning of what it is that I'm experiencing in this moment rather than trying to say, okay, let me choose a new meaning, let me make a new focus. Oh, ding, 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 ding. And then,
right.
it's like, it's so much harder to like reverse engineer it that way.
Yeah, the movement is a really big one. I notice that before I go on stage, I always make sure I stand up and I'm like standing side stage and I take up space, like chin up, chest out, get big. And then same with when I walk on stage, I make sure that I'm very big on stage to like show confidence and that I'm like, hey, I know what I'm doing up here. We're gonna have a good time. Is where, yeah, like
Yeah.
if you, yeah, you notice exactly like you're saying your physiology, like you get weak and smaller and you feel because it's natural when you're feeling weak to like even want to go into the fetal position, you know, like
Yeah.
curling up in bed. That's why I found a lot of the time I would be the most sad is like first thing in the morning when I wake up and you're like
Hmm.
curled up in a ball and I'm like curled up in a little ball in bed laying there and I'm like no one's ever gonna love me. And
Yeah.
you're like get out of bed and stand up and like do something, you know? And then like as soon as you start moving, you're like, "Oh, okay, everything's gonna be all right." Um we
All
could
right.
dive into play a bit. You know, a very interesting one. I went and watched they called it a comedy show, but it was more like a Q and A kind of thing, but with John Cleese. So from the Monty Python. And he
Hmm.
talked about how important play is. Like he said, you in order to come up with creative ideas and how they would create was you have to get bored. Like you have to allow boredom to come in. So he talks about like he said every day for an hour you should shut everything off, like get your phone off, TV, everything, and just sit on your living room floor like crisscross applesauce and sit there bored and then just start to play. And that's where ideas come in. And until you can really like isolate like that and allow boredom to come in, if you constantly have like input coming in, you're never going to get new ideas because there's constantly being flooded with stuff. So then when you get to like sit down and play, so I see you talk a lot about adults stop playing.
Yeah. I mean, I still regularly catch myself not playing enough for me. I'm like, I have high play needs. We all got different meters of like how much play we need. And I'm like, wow, I've got quite a high meter of where I feel really fulfilled when I'm playing this much. And I think that play is different for everyone. I know that I have a very stereotypical maybe way like when people see me on the streets dancing around and getting people dancing with me like in the middle of downtown or just like being a goofball. Oh, that's what play is. But play is different for everyone. What one person is doing when they're playing might not even be play for another person.
Right.
There's Stuart, I don't know if you know Dr. Stuart Brown. He has a whole book on play, and he did this whole
No.
research on it. I don't know, back in the day, I don't know when, but he was a therapist and was just doing research on people in prison and found a huge correlation to people who were doing like really intense, crimes, like murdering people and all the things, and having not enough play like in their life in their childhood, and like really like no play, and realizing, whoa, what is going on here? And then that sent him, that one little finding sent him on this whole life journey of his whole life's work now to this day is just dedicated to understanding play and what is it doing in our brain, how is it good for us, like what is going on with this thing that seems like frivolous, seems like it's not really important, but actually is hugely important to us. And the way that he kind of defines play is, I think, more similar to maybe how we think of as flow.
Right.
That term of like being like fully immersed in the moment,
Right.
that thing you're doing where it's like time ceases to exist. You're just in it and you're fully enjoying it. Like whatever you're doing, you're just, I love this. This is like your everything in your body going ding, 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 ding. And for some people that might be sports. For me, not sports. Like I can, play a little bit with sports, like, but there's like a scale for each kind of thing, And for other people, they're like, you want me to do this goofy game, Amy? That's not fun. But for me, I'm like, this is so fun. I love laughing with people and being a complete goofball.
Yeah.
And, it's like all the whole spectrum of things people can be playing, and we have like a playsonality is kind of what he calls it, like a play personality, and learning that each of us maybe kind of has a different style of playing, and that one's not better than the other, but we get to learn and discover for ourselves, okay, this is how I can play, and this is so good for my brain to carve out time to do this. And even though it might seem like this is like a waste of time or
Right.
not, productive or efficient in our world that loves productivity and hyper efficiency and all
Well,
these things.
that seems to be the thing, right? Is that so much
Yeah.
stuff is based around productivity, where you're like,
Yes.
okay, at the end of this, do I have a something that is like measurable, that is better than it was before?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I think of things like the non-tangibles, like just even your like emotions seem to kind of take a back seat because you're like, okay, I'm feeling this, but you're like, oh, whatever, that doesn't matter. Just get the thing done that needs to be done. How
Yeah.
would you how do you encourage people to find play?
I think one of the things that I love sharing is just how it's so beneficial, because I think that when you start seeing value in it, you're going to start being more motivated to just
Of
doing
course.
it. So, we have neuroplasticity. I think, a lot of us understand, like, okay, like we can change the neural wiring in our brain.
Right.
And normally it takes 400 times, studies have shown, to like rewire something. Like you have to, do a new thing 400
That would be
times
terrible if you're an electrician. It takes me
to
400
really
tries to
learn.
rewire
Yeah,
something.
right. Like that's an actual nightmare. But like when
No.
you're playing, it like and you're in that state of play with it, it can take as few as 10 to 20 times of doing that same thing to be
Okay.
like, oh, new wiring. This is me.
Right.
Because you're just in the like full embodiment. Your whole body is just, it's like, oh, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins. Yes, do more of it. And then your brain's like, yep, let's do that. And so it's kind of like you can hack the system kind of thing and be like, oh, this is really good for me to learn a new habit of a new way of being myself. And if you want to be more joyful, show like choosing to create the habit of showing up in fun, playful, joyful ways. I think it's just a hack to becoming that new version that you want to become. I think people are like, oh, I'm so stuck all the time.
So
I live in
if
a live time
someone
where people are stuck.
if someone were to set out to play, like you're like, okay, I'm going to play today, what
Yeah.
what does that look like? Do you do the thing like John Cleese says, like sit on your floor and just shut everything off and then start playing with your environment, or do you grab a toy and the fire truck and just start driving that around? Or I know
Yeah.
it is different, but like, do you have any advice for anyone who's like, oh, I need to find more play, but they don't know where to start?
Yeah. I would say top tip, what did you love to do as a kid? What, like, when you did play, like, what were those moments as a kid? Like, not like, oh, I'm playing what the neighbor wants me to play. And like, I don't really like playing this. But the thing where you're like, oh, I used to love to dance. Like that was something that I loved as a kid, or I loved going out in nature and just like doing these things, or what was it? Where as a kid, because I think as children, we have a deeper connection to that sense of this is what I just love doing. And were you with other people? Were you by yourself? Like, and it doesn't have to be exactly tit for tat, the
Right.
same exact thing, but kind of just like notice, okay, what we're because we change, but we're also pretty similar in certain ways. And
Yeah.
maybe some of us played more than others as children, but
Well, I
I think that
think
there's a lot of clues there.
the thing with adulthood probably is we start thinking of things in like monetary value,
Yeah,
right? So that's where like as a kid, generally there's no 5-year-old that's like, oh, does this make us more money? Like, I mean, there's probably exceptions to people who grew up in extreme poverty where they're like young and like, okay, we need to figure out how to get money for food or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
But a lot of kids, they just do things that feel good, right? You're
yeah,
like, oh, I like doing this, and I'm not thinking about the dollar value behind it. So
completely.
as you get
Except the kids that live
older,
kitty corner to me, they're always selling their toys, and it cracks me up.
yeah, oh, they're little entrepreneur
There
kids.
are the little entrepreneurs over there. They're like line all their toys up at the end of the driveway, and they like have the chalk signs of like buy our toys, $1.
Yeah,
Like they're their old toys that are like ratty and falling apart. It's so cute. I love it.
that's funny. And they probably just use that money to buy new toys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Well, that's good. So your book, 101 Ways to Find Joy.
Yeah.
Yeah, what is it how did you structure the book? Is it like point
Uh,
forms? What?
So the book came from here it is. It's got all kinds of rainbow colors and a little nice disco ball on the cover.
Yeah.
The idea for it came, I was having a real rough season about almost 2 years ago at this point. And that kind of season where you're like, oh well, everything's really doesn't feel like it's working out for me. And then like, thing after thing after thing just kind of falls apart. And then you have that one thing that just really is the what do they say?
The
The
straw that broke the camel's back?
Yes, that's the one.
The
So it's
camel that broke the straw?
the camel that broke the straw. I was gonna say needle in the haystack, and I was like, no, something else with hay.
Yeah, there's pokey things in it.
One of those sayings. And then I was like, oh my God, like I'm 30 years old and I'm stuck in my parents' house and it's the middle of winter and everything's like not working that I'm trying and this is just what do I do? And just, kind of getting into the pity party, noticing that all of my other tools in my tool belt really weren't helping. I'm like, I'm trying to do my meditation and my yoga and I'm trying to like do all these things. What the heck do I do? So I just set myself a challenge one morning. I woke up and had that like, this is enough. This is ridiculous. Where you look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, wow, my clothes, like when was the last time I showered? I look rough.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. This is
Like
low even
something's
for
gotta
you.
change.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm going to set a 30-day challenge to wake up every day. And at first, it was just do something that will ignite joy for me, just me. And then after a while, some of those things that I had on my list were spreading joy to other people. And like, I'd go out into town and just like make cute little like love notes of things that I wanted to hear and needed to hear from somebody, just hide them, like in people's windshield wipers and in the library or whatever it might be. And just, I don't know, doing all different kinds of things every day and noticing that this was giving me a sense of purpose and really filling my cup was finally this thing that was, whoa, like this is helping lift me enough out of this sense of hopelessness that I was just stuck in. I was like, oh, there's something to this. And like within the 30 days, I like completely changed my life, like moved and like reset everything up. Like, whoa, not that this is like, read this book and it's a 30-day ticket to like completely transforming your life. Who freaking knows? We all got different strokes and different things, but maybe it might make your life a little better and all the things. It's got a little bit of like my story in it. I have it broken down into there's like tips of how you could make it like a book club kind of thing of like, okay,
Right.
like let's all like meet together and read this book and every week let's talk about the ways that we spread joy together and maybe if we want to like do something together because some of the ideas that I have in here maybe and they need a little bravery and
Right.
having a buddy there's so much truth to like collective courage. The amount of courage that I have when like one of my best friends is next to me, like doing something ridiculous in the street, goes like through the roof versus like Amy on her own standing with her giant speaker and her microphone. I'm like, oh my God, I'm very scared right now. But if
Yeah.
someone's behind me, I'm like, I'm unstoppable.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
Literally,
people helping
there's
people, powerful stuff.
people. Yeah, I got a little section that like breaks down the science, the lowdown on like what's going on here with all this joy and this play, me. And then all the ideas and just little uplifting nuggets and lots of pictures and rainbows and I don't know. It's an easy read, but it's one that's there to hopefully kind of be like a good bathroom reader maybe, where you're like, I can just
Right.
read pages here. I can like pick a
Yeah.
nugget here right before bed and just sleep on that, whatever, however you want to use it.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's very good.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you found that like for an outlet to share your knowledge. I love books. Books are very, very fun. Do
Books are
you
great.
Yeah, do you have any books you would recommend? Like, is there any books like in your top five or something that stands out? I know you mentioned earlier, what was that book again?
Play. It's literally just called Play by Stuart Brown.
Right.
That's a good one. I haven't read in a while, but it's a really good one. I'm trying to think of the book that I'm reading right now. Oh, it's on my bed back there.
I
Something
know.
Impact. Oh, it's just got so many good stories in it right now. Every time it's like one of those books where every time I put it down, I have to like find someone and like tell them the story that was just in it because it's one of those like kind of collection of other people's
Have
stories.
you heard of the book The Courage to be Disliked? It's like
No,
about
I haven't read that one, but I every time I see someone else reading it, I'm like, oh, I like
Yeah,
that.
it's interesting because it's like Adlerian theory, like Alfred Adler.
Yeah.
So it's his theory, and a lot of it's about like inferiority complex and stuff. But it's really good. It's an interesting read. It just came to top of mind when you mentioned stories because the way I forget, there's a name for the way these books are written, but it's got like a professor and a student and they're going back and forth. So it makes it a very fun read
Oh,
because the
that is
student
fun.
is like, oh, so you're telling me that it's my responsibility to get out of this situation or whatever. Then the
Yeah.
professor says something. And then while the professor's talking, a lot of the time you're like, yeah, but what about this? And then the next line is the student going, yeah, what about this? And you're like, yeah,
I
that's what I was
love
gonna say.
it.
And then it's so fun because you feel like you're in the dialogue, like you almost put yourself
Yeah.
in the student's shoes, and then you're trying to pick apart the theories and it all almost every question I had was answered. And
I
it was a really
love
good
that.
read. And then
That's really good.
and
And so
then
it's like a fiction story, but like based on like real life.
exactly, it's based off Alfred Adler's work, but it does come
That's
across kind of
great.
fiction. So
Wow, wait, I want to write that one down for myself because I sometimes I'm like, Amy, just read something that's like more story. Like, story is good. I'm like, sometimes I'm so like, this is the things that
I
have
know that.
motivation, beep, bada, bup, bup, and I'm like, Amy, stories are good. We're humans. We were born with like stories in our veins. Like,
Well, that's a big thing I'm learning in comedy. Like I'm starting to do a lot more storytelling comedy as
yeah,
opposed to like just like one-liner jokes kind of thing.
yeah.
And because you realize stories, like that's how that's our best way to transmit information, I think.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is. It's stories are, I'm like, I'm falling in love with stories lately. I'm like, wow, stories are the best way to teach and learn and like just connect and make someone laugh or whatever it is. I don't know. There's a lot of magic to a story.
Yeah. Another really good one is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl.
That is a good one. That is a good
Yeah. Because that one's, yeah, Frankel's theory of logotherapy, where we have to find purpose and meaning in what we're doing. You mentioned
yeah,
earlier about the value, like you have to assign a value to it.
right.
That does seem, there's a really good motivational speaker I like, Eric Thomas, and he talks
I have
about,
not ever listened to him, but he's been on like I've been hearing him about him more.
oh, dude, he's just a guy. I love him because I'm like a bro dude, like a gym bro dude, and
Yeah.
he is on 11 all the time. He's like, "What do you want? Where you at? Out of
Yes!
bed. Quit giving 70." He's like, "You giving 60, you giving 50. You want what these people are giving 100?" He's like, "You ain't gonna be able to get it." He's like, "You gotta give 110 every day." And then he's like, one of my
Oh my
favorite ones,
God.
they're like, "Eric, you gave 110 yesterday. What are you going to do tomorrow?" He goes, "I don't know. Give 120. I don't know." But and then they like, so he's constantly jacked up. But he has a thing where he talks about he doesn't believe in procrastination. He says you just don't have enough value in what you're doing. So because
Yeah,
he goes like people always go to me, they go E.T. Eric Thomas call him E.T. They go E.T. Like I procrastinate. I can't get these things done, and like I just I'm trying, but I just can't. And he goes, nah, I don't believe that. He goes, okay. He goes, say that in 1 month from now, I told you meet me here at 5 a.m. and I'm going to give you $1 million. He goes, where are you going to be? They're like, I'll be there at 4:59. He's like, yeah, because you see the value in that $1 million.
yeah,
He's like, so whatever you're doing, you just don't find enough value in it. So you have to find a
yeah,
way to attach a value to the thing. So if you can attach value to play, then you're like, okay, I have to play. Like this
yeah,
is something that I will take the time out for. And that's where I find just a lot of things in life, like a lot of the time I struggled with writing stand up regularly. Like I
mhm,
write every day. I would journal every day. And journaling was very easy though because there was no attachment to outcome. So I
yeah,
would just write, I would write down my regrets. I always start with my regrets every morning. And that's from a book called by Daniel Pink about regret. And it's
uh-huh,
very interesting because he basically shifts your thought on regret. He goes, if you tell me what you regret, I'll tell you what you value. And it's like,
mm,
oh, so this is a very good way of finding that. So anyway, I write that, then I write down things I'm grateful for to wash away any negative feelings from the regret. Then I write down a list of things I got to get done that day or that week, and then I just word vomit. And I go, today I woke up, I'm feeling a bit tired, but I'm doing okay. But I think I'm still going to go to the gym because if I go to the gym, then I'll probably feel better after, and I'm going to do and just junk. But it always was so easy because there was no attachment to outcome. So at the end of a writing thing, I could look at it and I was like, oh, look, I filled a page. Good job. And it did a little thing. As where stand up, I found it harder because sometimes I would write for 20 minutes. I'm like, I don't think I even got a joke in here. Like, I don't think it got any different, but it's because you're attaching an outcome to it. And then you're not seeing the value in that, is where I had a coach kind of tell me, like, he goes, think of how do you feel when you get a new joke? Like when you write a really good joke that you're excited to go tell on stage. I'm like, dude, it's the best feeling in the world. Like I get nothing gets me more excited than when I'm like, oh my God, I figured it out. Here's how
yeah,
I'm gonna do it. And he goes, okay, write from that place. Just write with that feeling of joy and not worried about whether you're gonna get one or not. And then just trying to, do that.
yeah, completely. I can definitely so resonate with that. I've been getting into public speaking more lately, and I can like talk and like do all these things. I can go live on social media. I can like be whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, when I'm like, oh my God, this is like professional kind of thing, and like people are gonna be, and I'm like, it totally like freezes me, and then I'll spend like hours being like, oh my God, what's a single word? How do I even do this? Am I doing anything?
Yeah.
It's so funny because it's like if I frame it in a different way and if I can just shift, okay, we're not focusing on the outcome. Nobody's even sitting in my office right now judging me, being like, hey, Amy, that's not a very good sentence you just wrote there. You think you're going to motivate the masses with that? It's like all this imagined stuff that's not even happening. Like no one's even seeing it. And
Yeah.
then if you get yourself in the state of realizing, oh, wow, that's not real. I can be in an empowered, excited, whatever the state is that you want to be in, and write from that state, create from that state. Like no one else is watching because no one else is watching. And if they are watching, that's great. That's a great example for people to just watch you be a beginner at something. Like that's such a freaking gift to the world to be seen being like, I'm all right at this. Not really that great yet, but that's okay.
Yeah, that's the thing that I loved about stand up. Well, the crazy thing about stand up is you can only do it in front of a live audience. So it's
Yeah,
like you're learning and practicing live in front of them. And I always say like it's like trying to learn a new skill, but you're only allowed to practice a skill with a audience watching you. So I say like
yeah,
imagine if you tried to learn how to juggle, but the only time you were allowed to juggle was with people sitting there watching you. Like it's like you're screwing up all the time. You're like, "Look, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm trying to figure it out." And
yeah.
that's what stand up is like. You're just like, "Look, I'm trying to learn how to do this. I don't know." But it's
I
so
don't know.
like hard because you have people, yeah, just judging you live the whole time. You
Oh
can do it at
yeah.
home in the mirror all you want, but you don't know until you go on the stage and say it in front of people, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But
Dude, stand up is brave because I'm like, wow, making people laugh in the everyday kind of moment, I think is so much easier almost than like, uh, make me laugh. I dare you.
Yeah, yeah, it is like engineered laughter, which is yeah, it's a lot harder to do
Yeah,
than
you're
just
brave.
yeah.
Like, keep going. That's fun.
Yeah, it did, but again, yeah, it's like so much growth comes from pushing through that fear, kind of like we talked about earlier, you know?
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. It's
Um,
not for the faint of heart.
yeah. Before I let you go, I have a question I always like to ask everyone. And the question is, and you can take some time to think about it, so don't worry about dead air, but what is something you used to believe to be true that you no longer do?
Oh, what is some- I can't do it. I just like stared off into the middle
No,
distance and just
no,
kind
that's
of
great.
felt a montage of like younger versions of me, like just crying or just feeling like this immense belief that I can't do it. Like thinking, like, having that sudden flash of an idea or, oh, I could be this. And then the next thing, like 0.5 seconds later, would be, I can't do it. I can't do it. And I really believed that for a long time. And I didn't do anything. And I would just kind of wait for life to, I think, show up on my doorstep. And it didn't because
Right.
it doesn't. That's not, I mean, obviously everything's constantly changing because change is the only constant, but the life that I wished to live, it wasn't like just gonna knock on my door and say, "Hey, Amy, here's all the opportunities that you've ever wished of and dreamed of, and all of the skills that you." And if I just really, I was holding on to that belief of I can't do it, I can't
Right.
do it, I can't do it, and I'm not doing anything, and letting go of that. I'm like, oh no, I can be anyone. I can do anything. Not
Yeah.
that it's not messy and like I'm falling all over the place. Like, what am I doing? I don't know yet. But you
Yeah.
can't do anything.
Oh, that's a really good one. I really like that. I share that same belief with you. I really think anyone can do anything. I think everyone has different starting points.
Yeah.
Like we all start at a different point, but
Oh
then
yeah.
time and effort create a trajectory that allow us to grow and change. And
Oh
so I
yeah.
think that, because like when I started stand up, I was awful, man. Like I sucked. Like it was so bad. I remember I did it for like 5 years before I quit my job. So I didn't just be like, I'm doing this. I was doing
Right.
it. Then I quit my job. But then once I quit my job and then I started going to some of the comedy clubs and getting in the big cities because I'm from a small town. I was like, I'm in over my head. I'm like, holy shit, all these kids are so much better than me, and I made a mistake. And then, but luckily, I was already too deep in that I was like, well, figure it out. And I just started reading all the books I could on joke writing and performing and going on stage as much as I could. And then, yeah, eventually figured it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you got that like drive and that like why or reason, you're like, I burned all my bridges, I burned all my boats.
Yeah.
I gotta figure out how to swim.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, Amy, if people wanted to get a hold of you, what's the best way they can do that? Where can people find you?
Yeah, you could find me on social media. I got Instagram, TikTok, YouTube at the Amy Dickens. You can find me at my website, livejoyfullyu.com. And yeah, you can get my book, 101 Ways to Spread Joy. All the good stuff it's all in
It's
there.
there. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to cheer me up. This has been very joyful and very fun.
Thank you.
And
This has
then,
been such
yeah, I
a freaking
really like
delight.
what you're doing. I think it's very valuable. We need people out there telling people they can be happy.
Yeah, yeah, thanks. I really appreciate it. You're doing the good work in the world. I'm just grateful to be here.
Aw, well, thank you for coming on, and we'll talk to you later.
Yeah, talk to
When
you
you
later.
say
Have a
talk
good
to you
one.
later, that sounds like the lamest exit. All right, Amy Dickens,
Talk to
everybody.
you
Thank
later.
you for coming on. Where's the fireworks go up?